Directed by Chris Green, The Pebble and The Boy releases in UK cinemas on the 27th of August and is a love letter to mod culture. How's it do in that respect? Let's find out. Young college teen John decides to take his late father's scooter down to Brighton in order to scatter his ashes in the spiritual home of the mods. Now, before we begin, I have to preface this review by saying I was not around during the peak of the mods versus rockers era. The closest information I know about it was my dad's stories of being a mod and the film Quadrophenia. I will say that if you are an ex-mod and ex-rocker, I felt this film will definitely do more for you than it did for myself. I am looking at this purely from a film perspective, and I must say that this film left a lot to be desired. For starters, you've got to like your main character, and unfortunately, our lead character John, played by Patrick McNamee, is quite the insufferable protagonist. He has literally no personality outside of wanting to do right by his dad. He spends a good portion of the movie, despite his initial enthusiasm, trying to turn around and bail on the trip at the slightest inconvenience. The acting is quite poor for this character, but I honestly couldn't put my fingers on if that is mainly down to the script or by the performer. I like to think it is the former, just because I know acting is a difficult thing to do, but he was quite the insufferable lead protagonist, spends most of his time moaning about different things, and while there are some definitely more improved beats to his character and definite improvements in the writing later on in the movie, he just wasn't a character I could really get behind, and I nearly quit on this movie multiple times watching it. Thank God then for the character of Nikki, who I thought was the best part of this movie. This was surprising to me because when we first meet this character, she is very mouthy, very brash, and quite annoying, but she grows on you really fast. And I have to give full credit for that due to the actress Sasha Parkinson, who plays Nikki to absolute perfection within this. There are several other characters in this as well, and I dare say some of the best acting comes from actors and characters that appear for only one or two scenes, especially towards the latter half of the movie. I feel like Patrick's performance is definitely sticking out like a sore thumb when certain characters will come in that are generally usually either ex mods or ex rockers that are reminiscing about the good old days, seeing this scooter that John is riding. They do much better performances than many of the lead characters within this. There's a third character that joins John and Nikki on the trip down to Brighton about halfway through the movie that generally adds nothing to the plot, is a very forced in character, and quite frankly, wasn't a very needed character. This film is one of two halves because the first 40 minutes of this are a chore to get through, which is a great shame because the opening was absolutely gorgeous. It opens straight up with the funeral of John's dad and his hearse being escorted by a procession of fellow mods. It reminded me very much of a friend of mine's dad who was a biker, and she posted a video of his hearse being escorted by a lot of leather bound bikers, more than likely ex rockers. It reminded me very much of that. It was a nice, sweet opening, and apart from some very choppy acting and some questionable cinematography at the start, I was on board for his journey, which made it more infuriating when he tries to bail out of it at every single opportunity. Like I've already said, Nikki was by far the thing that held this film together for me in that first half, because that first half is so inconsistently edited and shot. There'll be one moment where it's competent cinematography, other moments where it looks like they're trying to advertise some IKEA furniture. There's even one particular scene that is shot, kid you not, like one of them old 90s porno VHS tapes, and it is quite an uncomfortable scene as well that I am referring to, and I genuinely don't know why that had to feature in this particular movie. It doesn't really add anything to to the overriding story. You can tell all the love and heart in this movie mainly came in the second half when they got to Brighton. Because once we get to Brighton, the story starts to become more streamlined. It starts to be shot more consistently. The acting, well enough, seems to improve. The cast of characters adds some extra flavour to the movie. It felt like the film was just trying to fill up its time until we got to Brighton. But once we got there, it definitely improved for me in a big way. But I've made a promise to myself because I've noticed there's a lot of films that I thought were lackluster recently that I've given my equivalent grade to OKs or 3.5 star movies. And I'm trying to be more critical of films now. And unfortunately, The Pebble and the Boy will have to be one of them first ones because despite all these sub characters doing some good moments that did hit me in the feels a couple of times, there's a lot of the film that just doesn't work. The character of John, if you don't like the main character, you haven't got a lot to build off of. And I just never really gravitated towards John as a character. There's this one particular moment where it's built up like he is just as bad as someone else in his life, and it's completely different circumstances from the situation that that person was involved in and the situation that John is involved in. The bond between him and Nikki, I'll be honest, I didn't quite buy it as much as I feel like the movie wanted me to. But when it's just them riding around on the mod scooters and referencing the culture from back then, that's where I feel like the film is the strongest. So even though I'm not an expert on this period of UK history, I feel like this did its job in trying to be a love letter from that era of the mods and the rockers, which the film does very well. It's just unfortunate that a lot of the characters around it, especially the key characters that play a primary focus in the plot, don't really add to it as much as I feel like the filmmakers wanted them to. Before I get into my grade, if you like what I do on this channel, click that like button and subscribe to the channel for more reviews like this coming all the time. Trying to get through a bit of a backlog at the minute, and there will be some very belated reviews coming out soon. But I do hope you stay subscribed and hit that bell notification so you never miss any more reviews from myself. But yeah, for me, overall, The Pebble and the Boy, I can tell they really want this to succeed because just from the marketing that was sent to me when I was given this screener, really spelt out they wanted the word of mouth to get out about this and praise it as much as possible. But I'm unfortunately not able to do that because there is a very dislikable lead character. The first half of this movie is painful to get through, frustratingly painful. So, despite the second half being a significant improvement, it didn't make up for the fact that half that movie was just a cluster of a mess of advertisement cinematography, choppy editing, some very questionable cinematography in action scenes. It just didn't mix well for me at all. And they try to stretch this film out for as long as humanly possible. There are moments where there is constant conflict being thrown in that just feels like it's there to stretch this plot out as much as it can. And there are some jokes that while I did laugh, I immediately hated myself for laughing at them straight after because in 2021, some of the humor in this just can't really fly. Overall, I'm going to have to say that The Pebble and the Boy is a cold cup of tea. So, The Pebble and the Boy, do you plan to see it where you can? Do let me know down in the comments below. Were you a mod? Were you a rocker? Am I completely missing the point here? Do let me know, but let's keep it civil. And again, if you like what I do on this channel, click the like button, subscribe, and keep an eye out for more reviews like this coming all the time. But until next time, my name is Josh, I have been your Movie Apprentice, and I'll see you in the next video.